Hey guys, finally got a chance to do one of these without having to make it a voiceover. I've had a few people ask me about 16 gauge turkey loads since I've posted the 12 and 10 gauge ones. And that's good. I like that there's a demand for 16 gauge. It is my favorite shotgun caliber. Um, let's jump right into it. We got us a once fired Federal. This was a high brass. Just says high brass on it. 7.5. I assume this was the 1295 FPS load, 1 1/8 ounce, but that's what that is. So, deprime it, resize. Let me get me a primer. I'm using Shadot CX2000. Great primer. Fired probably 1,500 of them so far. No issues. There you go. Reprimed. Now, powder charge I'm using is 22 grains of Alliance steel. This is an 1.5 ounce load at 1125 FPS. How's that for a 16 gauge turkey load? And yes, I know I should be using a dipper for the powder, but my hand's it's quicker. Just much faster to do it by hand. 23 grains. 22 grains. I could probably run this up to 24 grains and maybe push 1200 FPS, but this is already a 9,000 PSI load, and I can't pressure test my own load, so who's to say what a couple extra grains will get me? That might put me around 11,000 PSI, not sure. But CSD 16 wad, now these come unslit, so you gotta slit it yourself. I'm doing a half cut on the wad on both sides. You got it. I got me a fairly even cut. I'm going to use my press to make sure it's seated down firmly. The CSD 16 wad holds almost exactly a 1/2 ounce of shot, flush with the shot cup, so that's good. Number 6 shot. I'm loading this up to 1.45 ounces, and I'm using buffer to get me to the 1.5. 1.37. 1.46. I'll stick with that. That's good. Mix number 47 buffer. I've grown to really like this stuff. Honestly, not sure if I'll go back to the original buffer, although it's really good too. 1.47. 1.4. It's still 1.47, and I've got about 3/4 dipper. 1.48. That tells me I can, if I wanted to, go 2 more pellets. Number 6 shot weighs, my scale tells me it weighs 1/100th of an ounce per pellet. So that tells me I could go with 2 more pellets, but it ain't worth it. I mean, in theory it's worth it, but it ain't worth it for me to, just get my shot back out and stuff. Here's what it looks like. Exactly where it needs to be for the crimp. Oh, 16 gauge, 6-point crimp is the front station. So is the 20 gauge. On the 12 gauge, it's backwards. Here's the pre-crimp. Looks nice and good. A little bit more pressure. Check it out. I could apply a little bit more pressure to that and make it a little bit better. I may just do that here in a second, but that's sealed up good. There is no hole in the center of the crimp. Buffer will not leak out of that. The plastic is pretty thick on these Federal shells, so sometimes it is kind of hard to get a good crimp on them. That's much better. But that there is, for all intents and purposes, a 1.5 ounce 16 gauge turkey load at just over 1100 FPS, 1125. That's a monster turkey load for a 16 gauge. Normally, the most you'll ever payload weight you'll get in a 16 gauge from factories these days, it's 1 1/8 ounces, but they used to offer 1 1/4 ounce loads. But both of those, for modern purposes anyway, modern times, components, all this stuff, 1 1/8 ounces is fairly light for the 16 gauge. You can take I have loads for here. Look at this. That's 1 7/8 ounces load. Now the PSI is around 14,000, but modern guns can certainly handle it. The new Browning A5, I imagine the TriStars can handle it. The Viper G2 semi-auto 16, I imagine that could handle it. I'm not going to fire this out of my single shot, so you will not catch me doing that. But not for the recoil, just because I don't think the guns can handle it. Maybe my H&R, the most modern 16 gauge I have is an H&R Topper Model 48. That could probably handle it, but still, I'm not going to push a 14,000 PSI load through a 60-year-old single-shot 16 gauge. That 14,000 PSI is 12 gauge, 3.5 inch pressure. Not going to do that. This is only around 9,000 PSI because the Alliance Steel is a very slow-burning powder. It's slower than Blue Dot. And the heavy payload, you're not getting super high velocity. It just keeps the pressure down. I got this load from a very trusted source. He's very well known, very respected in the. Well, I'm not going to give out any information, any more information than that, because he doesn't want his original load out there. He wants it all kept confidential. This is far and away from his original recipe. He doesn't even use lead shot. But this is my load. He told me that if I switch to lead shot, pressures will drop down a good bit. But we fired 2 of these so far. Recoil is pretty stout. I didn't fire one, my friend did. You've seen him in my videos. He said the recoil is pretty stout out of it, but it absolutely dusted a clay pigeon, dusted it. But I guess that's about it. Well, actually, no, I do have one more thing I want to say. With the velocity on this being relatively low, probably don't take this load out past 35, 40 yards. That's probably the limit on it. I wouldn't push it past that anyway. If you drop the shot down to 1 1/4 ounces and up the powder to maybe 25 grains, you might be able to push it to 50 yards, but won't know that till I try it myself. I'm going to pattern this load for you guys next time I'm out at my friend's, which is probably going to be next few days. I'm out there all the time, actually. I'll see if we can't get this load patterned for you guys, see how it does. But I'm going to end this one here. Thank you for watching. Got any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, leave it in the comments below. I'll get back to you. I answer all my comments, and thank you for watching. This is 1.5 ounce 16 gauge turkey load. We're running Federal Hull, 22 grains of Alliance Steel, CSD 16 wad. It's got 4 pedals, they're half cut, and 1.5 ounces of number 6 shot, and mixed number 47 buffer, fold crimp. Get my hair out of the way. This one might have a bit of recoil. Alright, that's a fairly decent pattern. Density ain't so great, but this was at 30 yards. That's about the max range I'd feel comfortable taking this load. The velocity is only slightly over 1100 FPS. Can't count all the pellets, I'm not going to do that, but you can see where the wad hit right here, punched a clean hole. It ain't so bad. Here's the hull. Came out looking just fine. Can be reloaded. Yeah, these are paper-based wad. Most Federals are.
What do you think?
Well, that's not bad.